No matter how long your night has been, morning will always come. Welcome to another exciting episode of A Well Watered Garden. My name is Ayodele Moyotaiwo, and on my YouTube channel, I talk about faith, and from time to time, I throw in content on lifestyle. Today, I want to continue on my last episode. For the past 2 weeks, I've been talking about living by the power of conviction. This is the third episode. On living by the power of conviction on this episode, I want to talk about how to navigate, how to trust God during crisis. There is something that is so refreshing, about reading the Word of God, the Holy Bible. When you read the Bible, you see men and women in their raw state. You see their challenges, you see their triumphs, you see their mistakes, you see how they were able to, get up after a fall. The Bible did not in any way conceal the real struggles, that people had while they were living on earth in their days of earthly existence before we now read their stories in the Bible. There are countless men and women in the Bible whose struggles are laid bare. We hear about their story, we read about their story, we know the crisis that at a point in time tried to rip them apart. And from the book of Genesis to the last book of the Bible, which is the Revelation, you see that there is no human life that is perfect and without trouble throughout the duration of his or her earthly existence. From time to time, there will be challenges, there will be crises, there will be obstacles, and there will be difficulties in the course of doing life. How do you trust God in the midst of crisis? How do you live by the power of conviction? How do you stay true to your calling? How do you stay true to your faith? How do you stay true to God and His promises when the heat is on? That's the essence of this video. Like I said earlier on, there is no perfect life. So stop wishing for one. There is no perfect story. Stop wishing for one. Everybody's story at a point in time has been merged. There is nobody who got a clean state from the beginning to the end. We read about different saints in the Bible. We read about where God, took them, how God took them from the merry clay before He put their feet upon the rock to stand. Now, today in this video, I'm going to talk about two different people. I'm going to narrow it down to two men in the Bible who trusted God, in the midst of crisis. The first person that I'm going to talk about is Job. In Job chapter 1, we read an account of Job stating how righteous he was and how he was the greatest of all men in the East. The Bible discloses, that Job in his generation was an upright man. He was a man sold over to God. He was a man given to God. He was a man who wanted to get it right with God. We read an account of how he walked with God. We read the account of how the devil, reported him to God and said, do you think Job is serving you because he truly, genuinely, truthfully, he loves you, or because you've done so much for him? And God said, you can try him out. Genuinely, Job loves me. And even at that, trouble came. Now, in the days of his crisis, what happened to him? The first thing that we read about in the book of Job is the fact that his business crumbled. Not long after, his children died. Not long after, his health failed him. Now, look at those three major blows that he encountered within that period. His business that he has taken time to build and that was flourishing, everything crumbled. And that means that whenever, we don't need to be told that the moment the business crumbled, his finances will have been in shambles. We don't need to be told that. We knew that as a result of the collapse of his business empire, he must have, walked through some difficult financial periods as well. Now, apart from the business empire that crumbled, his children also, they died. Not only that, his health also was taken away from him. And at the moment of crisis, a lot of people said a lot of things, to him. People may not understand your story, but you do not have the luxury of time to explain the details to them. People may not understand the details of what you are going through, but at the end of the day, when God turns your story around, the victory will speak for itself. I always like telling people you don't need to explain the hack to the people. The rain will do the talking. When you are going through the process, there is no need to explain everything to anybody. In fact, there are moments when you are going through the process that you have nothing to explain to anybody. Just go through the process, then let the result do the talking. Now, when Job was going through his own process, when he was going through the furnace of affliction, when he was going through the pain, the tribulations of losing his health, losing his business, losing his children, there was nothing to explain to anybody. Nobody could affect his pain. Nobody could affect his agony. At a point, people kept saying that probably he had sinned against God. In a moment of despair, his wife told him, curse God and die, because at that point she couldn't see a way out of that dilemma. There are crises in our lives. There are crises, there are phases, there are moments, there are periods and seasons when we cannot run away from one pain or another. Now, how do you navigate such difficult, painful moments? How do you survive the periods of crisis? How do you live by the power of conviction when even you do not understand how your story will unfold? When you don't understand how God is going to bring out the puzzles to create a whole, how do you explain to people? It got to a stage in Job 19:25. Job had nothing to say. He said just one thing. He said, I know that my Redeemer lives. The starting point in living by the power of conviction is for you to realize that God is alive. In my last video, I emphasized so much on this fact, on this truth, that God is alive. Hebrews 11:6 says that whoever is going to come to God must believe that He exists and that He is a rewarder of those who diligently seek Him. I want you to know, I want you to have that conviction that God is real. I want you to realize that of a truth, God exists. Job 19:25 holds true. God is alive. He is not dead. No matter what you are going through, I want you to know first of all that God is alive. That is one of the very first thing that will help you to settle your mind to be at rest when you are going through the furnace of affliction. Realize and understand and be convinced that God is alive. Be convinced that God is real. Be convinced that God cannot die. He is the same yesterday, the same today, the same forever. He doesn't go on a break. God is never out of town. God doesn't go on a break. God is never on vacation. That means at every point, no matter the chaos, no matter the trouble, no matter the affliction, God is right there with you. He's always on the throne and is working everything out for your good. That is the first thing you need to know. Realize that God is alive. That's the first thing. That's the first major thing to understand, so that you can go through the periods of crisis, the periods of pain, the periods of affliction, and come out stronger. Now, moving on from Job, when Job was going through that crisis and people said, curse God and die, his friends were saying, did you do this? Did you do that? And he couldn't explain to them. The second thing I want you to know, is the fact that God is a restorer. No matter what you have lost, no matter what was taken away from you, God has a way of bringing it back into your life bigger and better. God is a restorer. He said, I will restore unto you the years that the locust and the cankerworm took from you. In other words, whatever it is that the enemy took away from you, God has the capacity to bring it back into your life in a better way, in a bigger way. Do not ever give up on your future, no matter what you have gone through. Do not ever give up on your tomorrow, no matter what got lost in your life yesterday. No matter what happened even to you today, do not give up on a better tomorrow. A better tomorrow can still and will still unfold in your life if you do not give up. Now, when you look at Job, we realize that he talked to God throughout the pain, throughout the ordeal, throughout the tribulation, throughout the affliction. He did not let go. He held on to God. He got to the point of knowing that, like I said in my last video, there is no other God to go to. He knew Egypt was not an option. You know, when you are going through crisis, there will be options. There will be several people whispering to you, telling you a million and one way out of that trouble. I want you to know that apart from the fact that God is with you right there in the furnace, right there in the lion's den, I want you to know it may look as if you've lost everything, but God has a way of staging a comeback for you. And that was what God did for Job. In Job 42, read an account of how everything that was taken away from Job was restored unto him, in multiples. It was double of everything that he lost. And apart from getting everything restored in double fold, the Bible says that he lived long to see his children's children. Not only that, in the land where he was living, his daughters were the most beautiful. God gave him something better for what he lost. Not only that, in terms of quality, in terms of quantity, God ensured that everything that was lost came back in ways that that are more than what he lost. God gave him everything back with an extra. There is an extra unfolding in your life. You could think you are a failure at the moment. Do not hang in there. Do not throw in the towel. Do not think that is all there is to your life. I like encouraging people. I like inspiring people. I like letting people know that there is something more to their lives. God is a restorer. He will give back unto you all your wasted years. Not only are you going to get all your wasted years, God will give you something more. He will give you something extra. There will be an icing on the cake. No matter what you've lost, no matter what the opportunities you've missed, everything that could go wrong went wrong, and you couldn't help the situation, and you are back to the ground floor. You are back to zero. You are trying to look at the ruins, and you are thinking, how on earth am I going to rise up again? There is a rising coming your way. There is a dawn unfolding after the longest night, after the tears, after the despair, after the shame you have been through, after everything, the ridicule, after the snares and the cheers of men, after, hearing negative reports about you. God is telling you that, you know what? I'm going to give it back to you, and I'm going to give it back with an extra. In the same way that Job got more than what he lost, Jabez also, the Bible made us to realize how he started his journey. He started on a very bad note. His mom named him Jabez, and Jabez means sorrow. It means pain, anguish, tribulation. All his life he has known sorrow, he has known pain. All his life he has been accustomed to being called by people pain, anguish, sorrow. So automatically nothing good could have come out of his life. But at a point he called on God, and God did hearken unto him. The Bible records that he became more honorable than his brothers. Look at that. He did not just become honorable, he became more honorable than his former estate. Do you understand? He got more. Apart from Job and Jabez, the story of another man that is worthy of being noted in the Bible is the story of Daniel. There was a time he had a crisis too. He couldn't help the situation. He was thrown in the lion's den, and it would have felt that was the end. But God eventually came through, and when he came out of the pit, he got promoted. There is something better for you at the other side of your tribulation. There is something better waiting for you at the other end of this crisis. I so much believe that something better will unfold. There is a better story being written concerning you. Just trust God. Just trust the process. Just walk through the pain. On so many occasions on this journey, on the journey of faith, your tears will fall. But one thing that must not fall with your tears is your faith. Another thing that must not fall with your tears is your sanity. Just keep holding on. Something better is unfolding, something greater is coming. And do not forget the 2 points that I raised in this video on how to survive the periods of crisis. The first thing is the fact that God is with you. And the second thing is the fact that God is going to restore you. Isaiah 61 verse 3 says, I'm going to give you beauty for ashes. Out of the dunghill you are going to rise. Out of the ashes, beauty will shine forth from your life. Do not conclude your story yet. There is a better chapter unfolding. Do not conclude your story yet. There is a better chapter being written concerning you. You can go through this crisis and come out shining like a diamond. You can go through the fire, the furnace, and come out like gold. Do not let the rivers drown you. God is with you. God is for you. God is working for you. He said, when you go through the fire, I will be with you. When you go through the waters, I'm going to be with you. I will never leave you nor forsake you. That is God's word to you. I want you to be inspired. I want you to be encouraged. I want you to pick yourself up from the ground. I want you to wipe your tears. I want you to smile. I want you to go take a shower, go take a stroll. Let the fresh air touch your skin. Remember that there is something better unfolding for you. Be encouraged, be inspired. There is hope for you, and there is a better future, like I said earlier on, unfolding in your life. Thanks so much for watching this podcast. On this channel, I talk about faith. I talk about, I sprinkle content on lifestyle. I let people know the true challenges of life, how I'm coping with them, how I'm winning in life, through the promises of God. How am I growing in my Christian walk? What are the challenges? What are the triumphs? It's a great pleasure to have you on this episode. I so much appreciate you. Thanks so much for being a part of my word. If you have taken time to listen up to this point, thank you so very much. If you are a returning subscriber, thank you so very much for showing up again and again and again. And if you are a new subscriber, thank you for joining me. And if you have not taken time to subscribe, please do that. Kindly subscribe. Hit the subscribe button. Feel free to share my videos, and do not forget to like the video. Help me to grow. Help me to become better. Thank you so much. I'll soon come very soon with another inspiring video. Before then, I say thank you once more and bye for now.